This is Administration and Public Works Committee. First item on our agenda is approval of the, let's see, we have minutes here. Approval of the minutes of July 27.
I move approval.
Okay. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next would be the City of Evanston bills, August 18, in the amount of city payroll, $4,573.21, and I'll do the bills, $4,737,412.34. We had credit card activity report this month, $184,877.05. Does anybody have any questions on the bills list? Yeah, right. Any questions, anybody? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving and recommending to the council A1, 2, and 3, A1 and 2?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Braithwaite, you want to take A3.1?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A3.1, approval of the maintenance plan agreement for the Sherman Plaza. Let's see. Staff is recommending City Council authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with the residences of Sherman Plaza, MB Evanston Sherman, LLC, to continue maintenance services for Sherman Plaza at the cost of $115,000 for the period of August 23rd, 2015 to August 22nd, 2016. This is for action.
Any, was there a second? Okay. Any discussion or questions about this? I have to say that this, whatever this plan did, it makes that garage look beautiful. I mean, it's just always so clean. So it's very much appreciated that we could get everybody together to make this deal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Miller, A3.2.
Move approval of item A3.2, which is the approval of the purchase of Talmadge streetlight poles and fixtures in the amount of $98,313.50.
Any discussion? There is a discussion, two discussions. Alderman Grover, and then Alderman Braithwaite, and then Alderman Holmes. What? Well, fight among yourselves.
Well, I was first.
Okay,
It's okay, but I'm accustomed to going to the regular line, and it's all right. I just wanted to know in terms of, oh, I'm sorry. I can't remember when, but we were told about these lights, and there's a different kind that's cheaper. Is this the one? That's what, the fiberglass one? I'm not sure. I was trying to remember in my head.
Jim Mayworm is coming to
Jim is
the
coming,
podium.
so he'll know what I'm talking about.
That was my question.
Is that your question, too? Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Jim Mayworm, Assistant Director of Public Works. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, Alderman Holmes. These are not those fixtures. We're still in the process of trying to find some competition for those particular lights. The actual price difference between the two isn't incredibly significant, and we've got a couple of other vendors that are right now looking at what we're using in the Talmadge streetlight and working to replicate it and give us some quotes. So we hope moving forward that we will have competition for this product and something almost identical to what we're using right now and much longer lasting.
Right. So are these, so is it an emergency that we do these right now?
Well, yes, ma'am. We have 28 poles down and
Okay.
we have 4 in inventory. So and they're a fairly long lead item, so we need to place an order and get moving. We tried to hesitate and wait as long as we could, but we really do need to replace them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Grover.
That was mostly my question, but my ideal Talmadge fixture would also include some kind of shading of the top of the fixture so that the light doesn't go up into the trees and into the sky and rather directs all downward. And I don't know if these Talmadge fixtures can be adapted such that it only directs light downward and we don't lose the light and create additional light pollution into the sky. I know in many neighborhoods, we like great lighting, in others, we like more dark streets. But I think all of us are interested in making sure that the light usage is going where we want it to go. And
That's an excellent question, and when we get to the point of selecting the next round of our fixtures, I'll have a more definitive answer. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm familiar with baffles that occur on the side of the lights that would attempt to baffle the light from shining in somebody's windows.
Right, we've done
But-
that, I think, in a couple of
Yes, in fact,
situations,
but
too.
something that you're describing from the top down, I'm not completely familiar with that. There, it stands to logic that there is something, I just don't really know what that is off the top
Right,
of
I mean,
my
if,
head.
if we're spending almost $4,300 per total fixture with the pole and the fixture, it'd be nice
Right.
if we could actually get them to be a little more customized, even more customized than these Talmadge fixtures are.
If you remember, I think Director Robinson, we had told us about, and we saw on Dodge, just south of Church, on the west side of the street, by the high school.
Right in front of the high school.
They're using that second little light that would make,
Oh, yeah, for
So that
sidewalk
was
lighting.
one of the things
Yeah.
that's available to do, based upon, the height. So I do know that we're doing that, but I think it may be time for us to do another light study.
But I'm looking at the fixture itself. It seems to me, there ought to be a way to direct light only downward.
Where do you
rather
see the
than-
fixture, picture of this? Did I miss that?
Yes.
I pulled it up today to
Oh,
pull
okay.
up an image of it
Okay.
and
But it's not designed.
realized that, these were from 1979, and our
Right.
consciousness about the electrical sustainability, energy efficiency wasn't quite first and foremost in our mind, and neither was light pollution. And so if we could
Thank you, Madam Chair.
keep
have
these
changed.
decorative fixtures, but adapt them to current needs as well.
Yeah, the current scope that we're looking at is keeping the profile, the appearance of the decorative fixture, but moving then to LED lights potentially and other options that just make it more friendly to us. So.
Great, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Mayworm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Wimp, it's a follow-up to Alderman Holmes' question, because I was listening, but I didn't get a clear response. So with these new lights, will you have the ability to add that additional lighting for the pedestrian walkway?
Well, these particular lights are lower in scale than what you have over by the high school.
Okay.
The ones over by the high school are meant to be large area lighting that splash a lot of light, and that's why we brought the fixture down to a lower level to be more focused on the pedestrians. These are the decorative fixtures that are more intimate at about a 12 to 14-foot height. So they do splash a little bit more light on the sidewalks and things of that nature.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for your edification and for some of yours, when the Streetlight Committee was put together to customize a perfect replica of the original Talmadge lights, I read the committee report, which has stuck with me to this day because it was headed by a former 8th Ward Alderman, Bob Romaine. And Bob Romaine made it very clear to the community not to worry. These lights are being designed so that they're simply being designed so that they're replicas, not so that they'll light the street or the sidewalk. That's why the lights go up.
That's right.
People did not,
Yeah.
you must remember.
I do remember.
People did not want light. They were used to the Talmadge lights, which were like lighting a match. And so people did not want lights down on their street. Then, like 10 years later, we started having lighting committees, and Public
Right.
Works would drive people around to the darkest neighborhoods in town. And that's when the whole idea of the brighter lights came, and we made a switch. But these lights were designed so that that light would go up.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why I'm saying maybe it's time for another study, because I think also no one thought about safety at that time as well. And, lighting is very important in terms of safety. Simply as that.
Well, technology has changed a lot, and I've taken note of that, so we'll make sure we include it at the next round.
They better look like Talmadge lights, that's all I'm saying.
Madam
Well,
Chair,
we're gonna make it citywide.
the Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection, as we bring that forward, the designs, we're looking at a light with the side fixture and the LED overhead. So we're looking at that as an option. So that'll just be, we use the term pilot too often, but it will be just in that area where we'll look at that. So that'll be something that's coming to the council in the next 2 months. Are we doing that on the 31st set as Emerson Ridge Green Bay? No, actually, no, he says that we're going in September. We're not going to drive. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of recommending this purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next, A 3.4, Alderman Grover. A 3.3. Oh, A 3.3, yes, I'm sorry.
I move approval of contract renewal for towing and other related services with North Shore Towing in the amount of a maximum of $23,000.
Second.
All right, they've been around a long time. Alderman Braithwaite.
Just a quick question, Madam Chair, and I didn't see it covered on the contract. I had a situation last year with one of my residents who had their vehicle towed by North Shore Towing, and there was damage to it was a Boy Scout camper. And I didn't really pursue, or he didn't want to pursue it, but my question is, so when vehicles are damaged due to towing services, who's responsible for paying? Ah, there he is, Mr. Voss.
This is our towing expert.
Yeah. Who's responsible for paying for the damages to the vehicle?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Ricky Voss, Revenue and Parking. The towing company has, by contract, any damage that is occurred, they have to repair or replace by contract.
And then just a follow-up question, typically how long does it take if it, right away, 30 days, 60 days to remedy?
I want to say 30 to 60 days.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How long does it take the city to pay a claim?
No comment.
So maybe you can talk to them later or something. Because I have a couple of stories where people are just thrilled with them, so.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the long-time towing contract with North Shore Towing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
A 3.4, approval of the contract with Joseph J. Henderson and Son Incorporated for rehabilitation of the concrete in the water plant clear wells, 1 and 2, bid 15-47. Staff recommends that the city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Joseph Henderson and Son in the amount of $452,000. I'm going to read all this because I have issues.
Is there a second?
No, well,
Oh, you're gonna finish?
I want to finish reading
All right,
it because I want people to hear.
Yeah.
J.J. Henderson is in compliance with the local employment program, whereas the lower bidder, Wash Contract Construction, at $302,874.10, requested a waiver for the local employment program. So there's a big difference in these two bids.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
There's a big difference in the two bids, and could somebody come up, I don't know, maybe you can, explain to us the nature of the local employment program as it has to do with this specific contract? What does it mean in terms of potential employment?
The local employment program is for contracts over $250,000, so this qualifies for that. And then as a part of this contract, then 15% of the wages involved in the contract should be devoted to an Evanston resident that is in the local employment program or meets the definitions of the program. It could be a new Evanston resident that meets all of the criteria and not on one of our lists yet. It's really up to, we work with the vendor, but it is up to the contractor to reach out to all of the places that we provide and select an employee. That way the city is not warranting any employee, even though we've now stepped up all of our training and availability programs to help our contractors comply.
All right, so 15% of 452 equals. All right, so we're paying,
Are you looking at the labor?
Well, that's an outside number, so you can,
it's 15% of the total, well, I'm putting the total contract.
Right.
Okay, so it's much less than that, because this includes cement and all that stuff.
Right.
All right. So we are paying $150,000 extra to provide for, I don't know what it is, maybe $30,000 worth of employment.
Right.
How does that make sense?
It doesn't
Well,
make sense.
It
How
doesn't
does
make
it make
sense
sense?
at all.
Doesn't make sense.
And
We need, and Alderman Braithwaite, you've got to take a leadership role
Mm-hmm.
here, because you have fabulous ideas. Why aren't they coming out
Yeah.
in directives and policies?
Yeah.
This, I'm not voting for this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And-
just not.
And thank you, Madam Chair. One of the problems that in looking through this memo, I would agree, it's very difficult to read. And what I was trying to figure out, and I guess I'll start with, any company can request a waiver. So that's the first thing. And so just by requesting a waiver and reading this, it should not disqualify a company. So that's number one that I think we should all understand as part of the ordinance. And then the other issue that is difficult to find out, and I don't know if there's anyone from staff that can help me walk through. Oh, Marty, perfect. Is looking through the various bids responses on page 133. And so when you look, or at least when I look at the various unit prices and I compare the three companies, I don't know how to make a comparison or a statement that's true and quantifiable to say that it's because of LEP that there's a $150,000 difference between the bids.
Right.
And I think it's unfair to characterize this bid in that way. I mean, clearly they're the lowest bid. They requested a waiver. We don't have to approve the waiver.
Here's what I
So-
was told. Here's what I was told one time. When I started, I used to really get into all these numbers across,
Sure.
like flag person or safety, whatever they,
Right.
traffic control. I mean, I would see numbers like, in the same project for the different bidders.
Right.
$10,000 for this one, and you go across, and these were bids that were within, $2,000.
Right.
And the next one would have $35,000
Yeah.
for traffic control. And I was told by our staff, I'm not sure if any of them are still here, that, you can't pay any attention to any of that. It's really the bottom line you've got to look at. Well, it was interesting, if you look at the unforeseen circumstances, everybody had 25,000. I mean, they all came up with the
Yeah.
same number for that.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that one job, they were just different prices.
Yeah, you're
Different
correct.
prices. And this 150,000 cannot possibly be attributed to the local employment program.
Absolutely not. Thank you very much,
And
Alderman Rainey.
It's way, way too out of line, and it is not the low bid. It's not even close. And I just.
So what happens with, if you have this low bid, and they ask for a waiver, and we say no?
Well, we did.
We've done that before in the
Yeah,
past.
but we want to award them the contract and say, no, don't they have to,
So here's the missing piece, and we've discussed this on our committee, and Alderman Rainey, I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, we've added some new members. We've added an alderman, Alderman Tendem, and followed by Alderman Willard. And we've put a lot of work into this ordinance to make sure that it makes sense and that it doesn't cost additional dollars to the taxpayers. And one of the things that we've discussed is making sure that our vendors come prepared to the table. So the same way that they're responsible to have adequate insurance, adequate bonding, we want you to come prepared with the understanding that this is an ordinance, it's not a goal, it's a law just like everything else, and come prepared with a job description that we can look at our LEP list to see if truly there's someone that meets the qualifications. And so that information is, I don't see. So it's difficult to understand what they can't find if we don't know what they're looking for.
After Alderman Grover speaks, could we send this back and get it fixed?
Yeah.
I'm not.
So do you just want to hold it over?
Alderman Grover.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I remember just this year that we declined to approve an MWEBE
We did.
compliant contract where the difference between that contract and the lowest bidder was $44,000. So I don't expect, or I don't know if I remember right, but so I don't expect that we'll go forward with this one. I can't
No.
believe that staff would recommend this contract as really the most responsive and responsible bidder were it
Thank you,
not
Alderman
for
Grover.
our policy. And so let's get to the policy again, and did you just fill us in on what the MWEBE committee's work is on our LEP policy, or has the committee been working on it?
Well, actually, the new policy does not grant staff the ability to say, when we have a bid that is the bid just above the one that is accepted and they're compliant, so that tells us that it is, that there are firms that can comply with our required, not goal, with our required local employment program, then the low bidder at $302,000, that would be the same in some respects of saying, well, I'm not going to provide the same insurance level because I can't comply with that. So I know it's a different look and feel, but once we made it a requirement, we do have, and to the point of the discussion, we did do a workaround in the past year where we said, well, they can't comply and we will do a apprentice. Well, we're fully staffed with all of our apprentices in the water department. They're all, like, you can give a very good report on that. They're all very busy. In this case, it was a clear, everyone was at the pre-bid meeting, clear case, they chose not to comply.
And Marty, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to correct something that you said, or maybe you can correct me. We didn't change the requirements. We only made a modification for the penalty. So the requirements were always there.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
But we have to at some point talk about the disparity
Sure.
between the bids, and we can't.
But
we have a fiduciary responsibility to the city of Evanston.
Absolutely.
And we can't vote for $150,000.
Just that we have a policy that produces such a skewed result.
Yeah.
That
It means
doesn't-
we need a new
that defies
policy.
practical.
Yeah.
Well, again, and I have a difficult time trying to figure out and weed through the information that I have in front of me where the skew or the increase in the numbers has a direct impact, or where the policy has a direct impact on all these numbers that I've said.
I don't believe it does.
So let's be clear when we're,
I don't believe it does.
Thank you.
No, I'm just saying that just because this person will comply does not mean we have to select this outrageously overpriced bid.
True, true.
That's all I'm saying.
I would agree.
I don't believe for 1 minute that the price has anything to do with the local employment program.
okay.
City manager, please help us out. of
Madam
this.
Chair, members of the committee, certainly from a staff perspective, we are concerned. We don't want to recommend to you what any person that's looking at total dollar amounts would say is an egregiously different price. However, the City Council has a policy that I've directed the staff that we are no longer going to pick and choose. We're no longer going to decide is $100,000 too much or is $50,000 too much. That's not appropriate for staff to do.
But we can.
Well, and certainly staff would welcome being directed to come back to you with some adjustments, because I think there needs to be some parameters to this. This continues to happen. Again, staff is no longer going to come to you with what are fixes, because they're not fixes. The policy of the city council is to have a local employment program, so it's not within our jurisdiction as staff to decide what counts or what doesn't count. So we would certainly welcome direction to come back to you with some changes that would, I think, clarify this in the future.
Thank you. Alderman Miller.
I think the maybe WEB committee needs to look at the policy further in a sense, but I'd ask of staff if there were other situations that were similar to this, if they can think of them and bring us previous contracts that had.
Well, and I think you've heard a couple already this evening, just from the last several months.
If there's any other ones you can think of too, the committee should look at a whole and see how the policy is working.
And again, Madam Chair, members of the committee, the MBE committee has been looking and continues to look, and we continue to face these challenges. So if you would prefer just to have the committee, the MBE committee, continue to look at this, I currently am the staff to the committee. I'll continue to try to deal with that. But in the meantime, I fear that we're going to continue to have these conversations where we're going to be recommending to you bids that are twice as much because of issues regarding LEP.
And again, I just want to make the correction. We just had that conversation, City Manager, that we cannot make a correlation between the difference in prices because of the requirement to have LEP. And if you are going to make that statement, then please provide the information that will help us come to that conclusion.
Well, Alderman Braithwaite, it's very straightforward that we have an unresponsive bid. That's what matters. We have an unresponsive bid, and we have an unresponsive bid because they asked for a waiver in LEP. That's what matters. So if there's an unresponsive bidder, we are forced to take the responsive bidder, which is comply with all the city's policies and procedures.
Alderman Grover.
Yeah, so it's a failure to comply with LEP that's an automatic disqualification. I think.
Well, says whom?
Says the City Council of Evanston.
City Council's policy.
Well, no, we grant waivers all the time.
So then let's
So if
get rid of
we-
the policy.
We grant waivers for the WEB.
MWEB,
On the-
not
on the
for-
waiver,
not
on the-
for local
Not for
employment
this-
policy.
No, unless I'm correct or incorrect, I want to say there was a bid to count trees. And I can't remember, so if I'm making a mistake, we'll take a look at it in committee. And maybe that's what we should do, just hold this over and look at it next month in our committee where we can come back with enough information that will allow us to make the right decision.
In the meantime, could we also ask staff to propose perhaps ways in which, or give us a background on the LEP and how it's different from our MWEBE policy and rules, and how the local employment policy produced this result. MWEBE does too, but I think we fixed that. How could we address that? How could we make changes to this policy so that we're promoting local employment policy, but we're also finding that right balance between getting responsive and responsible bids while we're supporting local employment? I think there's a way to address this in the policy. And maybe we can jumpstart it if staff took a look at it, propose something to the committee, MWEBE committee first, because we want to rely on their expertise, and then bring it back here.
And I think Alderman Miller's idea of having several exact cases that we're confronted with is a good one, so, because they might be just
Sure.
thinking academically and not, more theoretically and not as realistically as we're confronted with.
And Alderman Rainey, members of the committee, I'm concerned about timing.
Okay, let's
Off
go.
the top of my head, the next council meeting, I think, is still before the next MBE committee. So that means we would be at September the 28th, which is a good deal of time between now and then. This is an important project. As you know, we continue to work with many of our partners regarding water sales, and I think to hold this for what would be, in excess of
It's
a
long time.
month.
Right. When's our next meeting is?
No, there was a reference saying that it would go first back to the MBE committee, and I believe that group does not meet until after
In September.
15th.
All right, I think this should go back to the city manager's office and to the law
Madam-
department and come back to us with a plan on this case.
So if we could come back to this committee, and we could do that in 2 weeks on the 31st.
Please.
The committee, Madam Chair, would it be all right if we came to the full council? because
Yes,
right now we don't
yes,
have
yeah, we
committees
just
scheduled
did
for
it,
the
yeah.
31st.
And just for a matter of my own information, when I look back at this is 19, how long has it been since it's been repaired? Well, we've looked at it.
It's been a while.
Oh, yeah, this,
Dave?
And we're trying to make sure that the water infrastructure of the city of Evanston is kept up. And as you well know, we've got a long plan of lots of projects coming up, and one delay will delay
Sure.
potentially all the rest.
and
So,
we've spent lots of money having consultants tell us
Sure.
exactly when this needs to happen. All right.
so Madam Chair, if you could then have it go on to the full council, and we'll bring it back on the
Could I have a
31st.
motion to that effect? We're going to, whoever wants, you want to do it?
This motion on this proposed contract with J.J. Henderson onto the full council?
No, we're going
Well-
to send it back to the staff.
I don't think we should.
Okay.
I don't think we should do it
We're
that
not-
way.
No,
Okay.
we're not going to do
Oh,
it that way.
I don't think it has votes to get out of committee.
No, we're going to
Same.
send it back to,
The city manager.
And I would actually,
There's
To come
office
back
and
on the
Yes,
28th, but
yes.
not
don't
to
bring us
recommend
back
J.J.
this. I
Henderson.
mean, we can send that message, don't bring this back.
And I-
Which, then come back when?
Come back at our next meeting.
On the next meeting of the committee or the next meeting of the council?
Next meeting
Next meeting
of
of
council.
council.
You
Okay,
may-
so we would-
Whenever you can get it ready. Bring
Okay,
it.
so we would want to come back on the 31st
Yes,
of August,
that would
which
be
there'll be no
excellent.
committee meetings.
Excellent.
It'll just be the full council.
That's
Right.
excellent. Okay, thank you. All right, this has got to
So
end
this is gonna hold.
discussion.
Right.
Okay. Alderman Braithwaite.
again, I will ask to be able to review this as a committee. I would like to follow up on Alderman Miller's recommendation to be able to look at this along with the other items of concern and then come back to full council. So I would hope that by looking at this, taking the time to look at this over the next couple of weeks will not interfere with,
Committee meet
Yeah.
in advance of your regular schedule meeting?
I think we're scheduled to meet the second Wednesday of September.
But he's saying that's
But
way
that's
too
too
late.
late.
It holds
We're-
up everything.
It's too late. I don't want
30
to
days?
leapfrog
Yeah.
over the
30
committee
days.
altogether, but I do want to involve the committee, the
Yeah,
MWEB
Mr.
committee.
Stonebeck saying in this particular project, there's an element of weather involved, so when the weather eventually does turn cold again, we want to be done with this project.
I would want to be finished with it as well.
So,
We all have the same
again, we'd be
goal.
happy to come back. Madam Chair, I believe the motion is then to have this come back to the full council on the 31st. We'll provide the information to the MBE committee at their next meeting in September, and then I think staff will work on its own recommendation to bring to that committee as well as the full council on how to deal with these issues in the future.
But I don't think it takes a lot of interpretation to know that if this comes back as is, it's not going to.
I understood. And so the city attorney and I will work on a proposal then to deal with this. The MBE committee meets on the 16th of September, which is the day after your council meeting on Tuesday, the 15th. So again, thank you for having us come back on the 31st.
Thank you.
Future vote?
All right, so this,
It's going to be hell.
it's been held. Let's just take a voice vote, just to, all those in favor of Alderman Grover's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, next we have A 3.5. You did that, Alderman. 3.5, approval of 3 vehicle equipment purchases. They would be an Elgin Pelican street sweeper in the amount of $185,820, a Bobcat Toolcat sidewalk tractor, I love these, with attachments in the amount of $69,479, and one Ford Escape in the amount of $19,513. This is from a purchasing cooperative.
Second.
Second, in honor of Mr. Jeschke.
Yeah, nice. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Braithwaite, 3-6.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 3.6, approval of contract extension for condo refuse collection. Staff recommends City Council authorize City Manager to execute a 3-year contract extension for the collection of condo refuse with Lakeshore Recycling Systems, 6132 West Oakton, at a rate of $6.30 per condo unit for the first year.
Question.
The only thing, this is Alderman Holmes.
How does this affect the other contracts, or does it have any effect on the other contracts? Because we still have not discussed
This will not impact the other contracts, Alderman Holmes. So we are working on the other contracts left are the commercial franchise, the yard waste, and the residential.
Right.
So those three we're in negotiations right now. And I'm not sure how much we've discussed this at the full council or committee level. One of our goals was to work with Skokie as far as a joint venture with them. And so our goal is to come back to the committee with an extension with Groot in a similar format, that we may end up with a one-year extension, and it'll be written similarly. They all want to see multi-year, but we would have the language that says we can get out after each year. What I would say is that I am hopeful, and we have good reason to think that our actual rate will not go up on the Groot contract because of our decrease in prices at Swank. So the actual cost for depositing all of our refuse at the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County has gone down. So that should also go down for Groot. So our contract with them should also be stable at a worst case. So our goal is to have that at the September 14th council meeting.
Okay, all right.
I don't want any answers now, but I would like an analysis of the policy that we don't allow for pickups at condos that have less than 75% owner-occupied people. I mean, tenants have recycling material also, so.
Say that again.
That we have a policy that we do not pick up recycling at condos that have in their building less than 75% owner-occupied.
Okay.
So just throw that. All right, all those in favor of the Lake Shore Recycling Systems contract, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Next is A3.7.
Move approval of item A37, which is a contract with Triggy Construction for the paving of various alleys. It's in the amount of $993,141.84.
Second.
Excellent, this is great. All right, any discussion? Anybody here on alleys? No? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I
Alderman
move
Grover?
approval of our 2015 CDBG sidewalk replacement project contract with Schroeder and Schroeder in the amount of $106,145.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, all those in favor of recommending to the council?
Aye.
Any opposed?
A 3.9, approval of the Central Street Emergency Bridge Repair Contract Bid 15-45 in the amount of $162,975 with the Alliance Contractors.
Okay. All right, isn't this one of the purchases where there's a notation that we don't do IDOT programs with our local employment program? Is that in this one?
No, this one is not that's one that's later on, that's
Oh,
a
later.
larger
Okay.
expense.
All right, never mind. Alderman Miller and then Alderman Grover.
Two questions. Marty, I don't know if you can answer this. One, generally, have we inspected the other bridges in town?
Yes, we have inspected all, and we have bridges, so Isabella, we just did Bridge Street Bridge, so putting the budget ahead on, we have about $12 million in bridges to do in the next few years that we need a long-term plan for. This is a repair that should last 4 to 5 years, so it's only going to give us some time, but it is right by the fire station.
And then second question, actually going to the tabulation of bids specifically, it's interesting because we have the engineer's estimate of the cost of various portions of the bid, and then the two responsive bidders basically are wildly different in their costs. So, I mean, the actual total cost is within about, call it $12,000, $13,000. But, for example, Alliance comes in at 1 cent a pound for steel, and then Roush comes in at $10 a pound for steel. And my concern is, okay, so again, it's not that much of a difference in the actual final cost, but are we going to have to come back later with cost overruns because the true cost of steel isn't a penny a pound?
We actually have this emergency repair has been delayed for a month while we have gone through that exact process. Staff noted that immediately. So in finishing this bid, we received in writing from the recommended bidder that they will not be allowed to go over the total bid. So in most of these bids, it is a per unit. So if they spent an extra 5 yards of concrete, we would pay for an extra 5 yards because that's what is needed. No, in this case, they are held to this, and we got that in writing because of that very issue. I could not make heads or tails of it. We sent email, written correspondence following back to them, please explain. So we did kick the tires quite a bit on this one. But for the emergency nature, I would have rejected them all. But we do need to get this back up.
Glad to hear that. Thanks.
But I would love to hear from our Public Works staff, because I've been told, like I said a few minutes ago, don't even look at those numbers. You look at the bottom line, and if they're all within, I mean.
And there is both our Parks and Recreation folks who used to do a lot of the facilities, they would do not to exceed bids. And Public Works, doing more horizontal projects where you're doing so much roadway, they would do per unit bids. So in the per unit bid, when it is for a street, it does matter quite a bit. In this bid, it was a unit bid. However, you can see there's a lot of work to be done on the shoring, and then the more technical work on the actual repair to the piers. So while it was a unit price bid, it was really more about expertise. And so that's why we ended up with a lot of fluctuation in the bid prices from the two contractors. This was also the contractor that is working in 2 locations already, so we were also very comfortable with their level of expertise. In interviewing the other contractor, they said their high cost for shoring was due to the fact that they were going to do it all by hand, where the vendor that we're recommending has the necessary equipment to do it on a more automated basis, and so they have a much lower cost of shoring. So I learned a lot about bridge repair in the last month.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of recommending this to the council, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, A 3.10, Alderman Grover.
That's on you.
Who did Central Street?
Alderman Holmes.
I just
Oh,
did.
you were the one who did. All right, I'll do A10. Approval of a contract with Silkscreen Express for AFSCME uniforms. It's the amount, it's a 3-year term in the amount of $140,870. Not to exceed, okay? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Braithwaite.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 3.11, approval of the 2015 CIP 3 street resurfacing construction contract with J. Johnson Paving.
This is the one where it's very specifically that we can't use, can you explain that? We can't use the local one. Okay. I mean, we just spent half an hour talking about that. We're not allowed.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Yes, when we use the MFT funds, which are the state appropriation of the motor fuel tax funds, we cannot use the local employment because this is based on the the gas mileage, gas taxes. So we have the documentation from IDOT that we cannot use the LEP, and that's what we did when we did award the 2015 MFT contract earlier in the year as well.
So it's just a rule, that's all.
That's a rule, yes.
Just a rule, state rule.
It's the state rule, yes.
State rule, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
It just needs to be mentioned that it's not sacred, that,
No, it is not secret.
All right. Any discussion of this? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Miller.
It's you.
Don't confuse me.
Move approval of item A 3.12. This is additional funding for the 2015 pavement marking program in the amount of $30,000 in addition.
No, it's 50. Isn't it 50,000?
Isn't it 50?
It's 50,000.
It says currently in the amount of 50,000, and the additional 30,000 will be provided by deferred 2015.
Well, I think it's 20 and 30 equals 50.
Okay, 50,000.
Yeah, because it's, yeah. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I certainly hope Ridge is included in this. You cannot see the lines on Ridge, other than the middle line. Alderman Grover.
Yeah, I want to compliment our Public Works Department, our traffic engineers, for doing some kind of creative pavement marking at Evanston Hospital on Ridge Avenue, where we had a chronic illegal parking area, and we used, instead of just signs, pavement marking. So it's really apparent to drivers, and I hope that maybe we can incorporate the use of pavement marking to supplement signage and to make it really clear where parking can and cannot happen, because I think it's more effective almost than signs.
And the cyclists like pavement markings. too.
Right. So thank you for that.
Well, Ridge, there's a bright yellow
Mr.
line
Voss
down,
and Mr. Nagar, yeah.
bright yellow line down the middle of Ridge, but other than the two-lane dividers, you cannot see anything. So. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Alderman Grover.
Madam Chair, I move our approval of additional funding for pavement patching by J.A. Johnson in the amount of $150,000, with the 21 locations highlighted in the map in our packet.
Second.
So this is not your typical nasty lump of asphalt that somebody stomps on and then makes everybody's
And while
head shake
Mr.
when you go over it.
While Mr. Mayworm is coming up to talk quality, I will talk price. Mr. Nagar gave us a presentation just about a year ago or a little less, where we noted that it was $450,000 for a half of lane mile when we do 2-inch resurfacing. We're going to get out of the $300,000 for the total program this year, 2 lane miles, because it's 6,800 feet for each one. So we're going to do very well. Yes, it is patching, but I'll let Mr. Mayworm explain why it's very professional patching.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jim Mayworm, Assistant Director of Public Works. No, it is not just your typical lump of asphalt in a hole. That's technically pothole patching, and that's really on an emergency repair basis. This is really a very comprehensive grind off 2 inches in terms of depth over a very large volume area, and then they bring in a machine to finish off the asphalt rolled to 95% density, and it brings the street back to almost an 80 to a 90% rating. So it's designed to really remove very, very bad pockets in an otherwise good street. And then it just brings the whole street back and then buys us time, 5-8 years for complete resurfacing. Well, the 300 block of Florence turned out really, really well. I might direct you to that location. There's several spots up north off of Prairie. Things of those locations.
Because you know the reaction, when people want their street paved and we tell them we're coming to patch it, they get upset.
If I could
Because they're used
coin a
to a
different
certain kind of
phrase,
patching.
that's correct. Yeah, and I think it's all about the terminology,
Yeah.
because I think that the
What else
product.
can we call this?
That's a great question. I'll have
You
to
think of an
about
answer.
that and come up with something better for the next round.
Alderman Grover?
Well,
I've had, I've worked with a bunch of residents who have benefited their streets from this strip patching, and they didn't understand either that it was going to be pretty much a wholesale
same thing.
grinding, and they so love it and so appreciate it. When they find out that it's a lot cheaper than a wholesale street resurfacing, they think we ought to do this everywhere. And I'm really glad to see Chicago Avenue getting this
Right.
strip paving, or whatever you want to call it, Mr. Mayor.
We'll come up with
because it's
some select suggestions.
If there's any street that really needed it, South Chicago Avenue is in bad shape, and
Okay,
that'll be nice.
good. Good. All right, anything else? No. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the so-called pavement patching by J.A. Johnson, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
A 4.1, approval of the 2015 Parking Access and Revenue Control System contract and installation change order number 1 for RFP 14-25, in the amount not to exceed $38,138.
This came up at our last meeting, if you remember.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about that little piece of paper, that little ticket. So it's going to be great if you pay with a credit card, which is great. So I really appreciate staff's work on this. All right, no questions? All those in favor of recommending the change order to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is change order number 2 for large diameter sewer rehab on Cleveland Street. This authorizes the manager to execute number 2 change order, an agreement with In Situ Forms Technologies USA for the large diameter sewer rehab Cleveland Street project. It's going to reduce the contract amount by $54,155.
Great.
I know nobody's concerned about that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 4.3.
Yep, Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 4.3, approval of change order number 2 for the CIP sewer rehab contract, bid 14-43.
That's in the amount of,
Yeah, the change order is in the amount of $3,010.
all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next, Alderman Miller.
Move approval of item 4.4, which is a change order for the Emerson Ridge Green Bay project, which is for engineering services for water main improvements in the amount of $56,250.
Anybody have any concerns about this? No? All those in favor of recommending to the council say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Grover.
Madam Chair, I move A5.1, approval of a single-source purchase of public safety software from SunGuard Public Sector and Xerox Government Systems in the amount of $543,541 to upgrade our current computer-aided dispatch software for both the fire and police departments.
Second.
Second. Alderman Grover, you're on the 911 committee, right?
Yes.
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 Can, this is
We haven't
going,
met in a while.
pardon me?
We haven't met in a while.
Well, but I'm sure you know all about this. This is upgrading the current system, right? It's not, is it
In every
replacing it?
dimension, in every dimension. I think Mr. Lyons can
But
probably
it's
help
not
you here.
replacing it, it's upgrading, right?
It is an upgrade, and you have several other departments jealous of the police department and fire department that have a quality system. This has not been upgraded at all. While I've been here 7 years, they have used it and used it and used it. So that's why the upgrade itself is rather large. During any such span, I think it's been more than 10 years, you could have had many smaller upgrades, and EPD and EFD have used the same system successfully, and this will help. The chief will be better able to, or Perry Polinsky would be better able to talk about any substantive issues, but it is for computer-aided dispatch and police records, and it will also work better with our new ruggedized laptops that will also be coming in this fall. So we will have both the equipment out in the vehicles and the software behind it all upgraded within about 18 months.
Everybody okay with this? All those in favor of recommending the 911 purchase to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. A5.2, Resolution 81-R-15, amending the 2015 Emergency Telephone System Fund budget. Staff recommends City Council adoption of Resolution 81-R-15 to amend the 2015 budget for the emergency telephone system by $240,961 to a total of $1,416,934.
Second. Alderman Grover, was there an increase in revenue at all?
I think this is...
Well, this is the same.
Decrease. You know, the committee hasn't met. I'm sure the committee would approve this change to the budget.
Madam Chair?
It did.
we will be looking at the E911 budget. Communities across the state are facing the issue of declining revenues from E911 because of the landline situation versus cell. So the chief has got his hand up and also can talk about potential changes to that, but we do have sufficient funds in reserve to complete the purchase.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. The funding formula for E91 has undergone a dramatic restructuring at the beginning of this legislative session. I provided that formula to Erica Storley, who continues to review it, and I think by adding a substantial uptick in wireless line service will be a net gain for the city of Evanston in this funding. But those figures are still being reviewed, but we anticipate an uptick in those revenues.
Good, good. Is it going to make it equal to the landline fee?
I believe the formula is they flatten it out so landline and wireless pay the same amount.
Oh, good, good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of recommending the, amending the budget for the 911 budget, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. This is the one. 2014 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. We're being asked to accept this and file it.
Second.
Thank you. We have people from our finance firm, the audit firm here, and I think that this is the most important financial document the city has, and that we should spend a lot of time on it, and we never do. So, you know, I'm hoping we can schedule you, in addition to tonight, for one other night. Hopefully, you'll agree to that. So tell us what's going on.
Madam Chair, members of the committee.
And are we on the verge of bankruptcy, as I hear every day?
No, we are not.
I'm David Mimers, and I'm the city's accounting manager and controller. Just a few highlights from the city's 2014 CAFR. The city's net position increased $7.7 million or 2.4% over 2013. The government funds net position increased $2.5 million or 4.4%. The city's increase in net position principally comes from the reduction of long-term liabilities, $8.5 million reduction in long-term liabilities.
If I can stop you right there. So in other words, we're improving our position by reducing our debt. Just want to make sure that we have that clear for folks.
Footnote 9 contains the city's long-term debt disclosures, so I would recommend that everyone take a look at that. The general fund balance at 12/31/2014 is $14,982,966, or 16.8% of 2014 actual expenses. So that's above our fund balance policy. The 2014 CAFR was delayed in part because of a new accounting manager position, and also we had a financial system conversion to New World software. With me today is Joe Lightcap.
Can you just tell us how that went within the system?
Well,
Dave, I'll help Dave out there.
No, we want to hear the truth.
I was just going to talk about it was a tale of two installations in that finance went in all right. Budget has been very difficult because we did a great job with it last year and it seemed to have worked and then didn't save anything. So we have to start, and so we have issues there. But so the finance system is doing all right, but the HR system was much more difficult, and we're not quite installed. I promised the council a follow-up when we were done. That's the other reason why I'm quite jealous of the police department's conversion. They did not have to go to an all-new system. So.
All right.
With me is Joe Lightcap. He's partner with the public accounting firm of Baker Tilly, and they conducted our city audit.
Madam Chair, member of the committees, thank you for having me. As Dave mentioned, I'm with Baker Tilly, Virchow Kraus, the city's auditors, and my role on this engagement was to oversee the progress of the audit and performing the detailed review of the audit work papers and the CAFR. There's a couple of documents I'll talk about tonight, one being the comprehensive annual financial report and the other one being the communications to management and city council. Encourage questions if you have any at any point. Feel free to stop me. I will be going over it at a high level, which tends to fit this kind of environment more. But like I said, ask any questions and we'll do our best to answer them or
So
get
are
back to you if
looking-
possible.
What page are you, are you like do you have our, you don't have, are we looking
Well,
at 266? Is that?
I'm looking at 262 because you're going to tell us what the deficits, what the deficiencies are, right?
Communication.
I can start there if you want. I would also have the comprehensive annual financial report,
okay.
Which maybe after
All right,
that,
just-
I don't have the board
You don't
packet.
have the,
But I'll go over briefly on the
Okay.
financial report, and then we can go right into the communications.
Thank you.
So on the comprehensive annual financial report, once again, the city prepared financial statements to comply with standards of the Government and Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. So your financial statements have more information than what the accounting standards would require. It gives you more information to make your decision making. Gives you 10 years worth of history in the back to kind of see the progress of the city to kind of help you direct yourselves going forward. On our opinion, which is the 2 pages, 3 pages that we are solely responsible for, once again, the city received an unmodified or clean opinion on your financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance you can gain from your outside auditors. And it means that the financial statements can be relied upon. They're fairly stated in all material respects. One other thing on the opinion I wanted to point out is that in the financial statements for December 31st, 2014, the city implemented GASB statement number 67, which is a very important standard for the city. This standard, what it does is you have, it's related to your police and fire pension, and it provides a lot more disclosures in your notes to the financial statements, mainly in note 16. It calculates a net pension liability that will go on your financial statements for the next fiscal year, but it just gives you a lot more information on the pensions and their progress, and how much will ultimately be paid out for the current police and fire employees. And I guess, the entire CAFR is important for the decision-making of the city. I encourage you all to go to review it at your leisure. But, if I were to point you in one spot, I would point you to the management's discussion and analysis. This is a good, 10-page document written by management that gives you an idea of what happened during the year, some of the increases in accounts, decreases in accounts, and some reasons why. So it's a good spot to understand what happened during the year. It's really all I had at a very high level without getting into too much of the detail. If you looked at the CAFR and have any questions, we can discuss those.
Mr. Lightcap, just also, the comments that we have in the communications are all repeat comments. Do we have any new comments this year as far as areas of improvement for the city?
That is correct. They're all from prior years, and some of them with the conversion to the system. If we have a comment from prior years and it gets fixed during the year, it still has to be reported because we're looking at the audit of the entire year. Next fiscal year, they'd be looked at it again, and if controls were in place the entire year as possible, the comment could go away if they were operating effectively.
Were there any issues that were reported last year that were corrected by virtue of the new system, new well system?
No, well, with the implementation of the system, because it happened during 2014, that wouldn't allow for that to happen. But there were no comments that were cleared. These 3 comments in the report have been there for a few years now.
Next year.
And over the years, there has been one comment in particular that's come and gone if we find a material audit adjustment, and that is not in this report. Of course, just to commend the finance department in what they do, we did not find any material adjustments during our audit.
Thank you. Anybody, any comments? Any want to pursue this at all? All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
A later meeting? Yes, we'll put it with the pension.
Maybe nobody wants to do that.
That's up to you.
The next item something that I asked our staff about, this other post-employment benefits report through December 31, 2014. They're recommending we accept it and place it on file. I don't know about, I'll move that we do that, but I don't know that I've ever seen this on an agenda before. It might have been folded into the other reports, but has it ever been singled out?
Yes, it has, and sometimes it comes with the other report, the other pension actuarial report, and is completely overshadowed at that point.
But I'm talking about being singled out and being needed to be dealt with separately.
It is required at least every other year. Is it every other year or every 3? Every other year that we have a new study done. We can just update in between years. So I know that it has been to the council at least once before. It has only been available for review in the last 4 years, 5 years? 2009. So it would be 5 years. So we have not had that many of these reports for to review.
Okay. All right. Who makes who wants, anybody wants?
Well, if you do accept it and place on file, then because of timing, we would bring it back when we do the pension actuary, just for a little bit longer discussion.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So I'll move that we accept and place on file the post-employment benefit report.
And I don't think you have a vote on A6.
I was going to say, we didn't vote on A6, so we should vote on both of them.
We do. We have to.
Right? To accept and place both on file, A6 and A7?
All right. All those in favor of recommending this to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All those in favor of, okay, let me do this once. Move approval of accepting and placing on file the post-employment benefit report.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of recommending to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Alderman Braithwaite. Salt.
Would you like me to move
Do
the
them
next
both.
two?
Yes,
All right.
please.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the approval of the School District 202 SALT agreement for 2015-2016. That's going to be in the amount of $76.69 per ton, which actually reflects a decrease of $16.24. I'd also like to move item A9, approval of School District 65 SALT agreement for 2015-2016 for the same amount of $76.69 per ton for the period of November 15th through April 15th, November 15th, 2015 to April 15th, 2016.
Thank you. Any discussion of this? All those in favor of asking the council for approval of both items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Alderman Miller.
Move approval of item A10, which is approval of an application for the storefront modernization program for 928 through 930 Chicago Avenue in an amount not to exceed $10,503.
Any discussion? Anybody here to speak to that? All right. All those in favor of recommending to the council the 928, 930 Chicago Avenue expenditure? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving Resolution 80R15, endorsing the application of Little Beans Cafe, Evanston LLC, to the Cook County Assessor for its Class 7A status designation for commercial development of vacant property located at 430 Asbury Avenue.
Second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending this great thing to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
A12, ordinance 102-0-15, authorizing the city manager to execute a sale contract for city-owned real property at 1941 Jackson Avenue. This will allow for the city-owned real property there to community partners for another piece of affordable housing in our community. And we would also request suspension of the rules as well.
And who built it?
The students at Evanston Township High School built it, and it moved from the high school to 1941 Jackson, just like we just had another one moved to 1800 on Dodge. So 2 houses now.
Are there anybody here on behalf of this project? Not you.
Well, it can be Mark.
I think that I'm as close as you're going to get.
I want to give.
So,
No,
Mark,
there's
you and I would cheer together, okay?
No, it's a great project. We just want to move it
It
forward.
is so great. And no one's here. Are they coming for the council meeting? Maybe?
No, we didn't plan on it. I
Oh,
apologize.
this is so
they were here last year. I believe the class
They were.
came
Yeah.
and was recognized
But
by the
this
council,
is-
but we will arrange for them to get here.
Yeah.
Also, the second class that just did the one
Absolutely.
that moved last week to Dodge.
All right, great. All right,
And
thank
big
you.
thank you to
And-
SEPA, Community Partners for Affordable
Everybody,
Housing,
yeah.
for doing their wonderful work in Evanston. How many houses now?
This is 2 houses, and just remember, the sale of these houses then will go to build more houses, so.
And these are SEPA's only houses that they've been involved in rehabbing and bringing to Evanston to affordable housing. Really great group based in Highland Park, doing good work here in Evanston.
All right, so we're going to, all those in favor of recommending introduction and suspension of the rules?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the committee chair? Yes, we did. He said it. All right. Committee chair will move for action on the council floor. Okay, we have items for discussion, board, committees, and commissions' annual reports. I have an idea about this.
That was actually a communication.
I know it is, but city manager, I really think this should go to the rules committee for review.
Well, Alderman Rady, members of the committee, the reason it's here is because those groups of committees report to you. And so what we've done is we have sent those annual reports to the committees that the committees report to, the boards and commissions
But we're
report to.
all on the rules committee. It just would be interesting.
And again, this is something we have not done in a while, so staff felt that since is called out in the rules that certain committees report to certain council standing committees, that we would bring it here. We'd be happy to certainly package them all up and send them to the Rules Committee. We have a potential conflict in September for the Rules Committee, so it would not be till October, but we're happy to do that.
And I noticed that it was on 2 different agendas.
Because it's on for P&D as well, so.
Yes.
But I don't want to give it short shrift, and I just think we should.
Again, Madam Chair, members of
Do
the
you want to
committee.
make a
if you-
recommendation?
But are
And then
there members of boards and commissions here to review this?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
We-
that's
we
a good
We had told them that we were just going to package up their reports and send them to the committees to which they report.
All right, I would like to ask the committee, would the committee agree that we would have more time to just set aside one rules committee to discuss this with people and invite them to come? I don't
If
know.
you'd like, sure.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think? Jane?
That's fine.
Again, it looks like Alderman Rainey and I spoke about a conflict with the September date for rules, so we may need to cancel rules for human services that evening, so there could be a CDBG
We
committee.
can figure that out.
But we would do that in October.
Okay, thank you very much. All right,
Okay.
so could I have a motion?
Are you moving it? I'll second. You want to move it?
Move it
Move
to-
that we would ask the boards and commissions report be referred to the Rules Committee for the maybe October meeting?
The city manager and Ilda will figure that out.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All those in favor of that referral, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, anybody here to speak to the committee? I didn't get a sign-up sheet. No? Okay. Seeing none, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.